Welcome to your source of comic book news and culture. I'm Lewis.
And I'm Kevin.
We're back again. We said we'd be working on getting our scheduling better, right? Also, you may notice we slowly getting someone to look back with our transitions and stuff.
See, we're trying, and it's only going to get better and better.
Today we've got some reviews and more from the New York Comic Con. We got a chance to talk to our friends Rob Reilly and Stephen Walters and had a chance to hear their views on how they see independent comics in today's market.
It's definitely a unique one.
Very good, yeah.
So, on to the reviews. Anthony Johnston is not a stranger to Variant Edition. We actually had him on the show. We reviewed his Wasteland comics. You know, he's been in comics for quite some time. And the interesting thing about him is that he's done a very diverse group of comics over his career. He does adaptations of novels, apocalyptic fantasies. His new book, Umbral, is like more of a fantasy book, but not really. He's got a wide range. He's doing a new book called The Fuse, which is kind of like right up my alley of stuff that I like. I'm a big science fiction fan, okay? The Fuse, in simple terms, let's give it the pitch. Law and order in space, okay, in the future. Basically, there's a new detective, Dietrich, who is traveling to the Fuse, the space station that's in orbit, and he's going to meet his new partner, Clem, which is she's a very old, should be retired potentially, detective. And that's basically the first issue. The first issue is just basically set up where he's going, look the lay of the land, sort of, and not too much more than that. And some potential issues with, you've got the really young rookie detective who's not quite so rookie because some of his cases on Earth, and the old, grizzled, experienced, detective who's taking him on as a new partner. Oh, and don't forget that they basically get like no support from the station. We're not talking NYPD here. They are the only thing keeping law and order in place, no pun intended. And they don't have a whole lot of support doing it. And they say America's the melting pot. No, a space station where people from all over the world are trying to find a new start. That's like the ultimate melting pot. So at the moment, first issue, but it's an issue that gives a great premise with a lot of potential. The amount of stories that could be told in this, framework is pretty much endless. Think about, police procedurals. You can use that framework to tell any story you want because in the end, it's just a mystery thriller. And you want to make a comment on social commentary or you just want to have a fun adventure story, everything's going to fit in there. I think that Johnston has really picked a great book where he can do whatever he wants, and it's got a lot of potential. The art by Justin Greenwood, very strong, and I imagine it's just something that's just going to grow as he grows into the spaces of the station and we see more of it. It's not exactly a fun book, but the amount of potential that's in this book is really going to keep me reading.
Adam Kubert is back, drawing everyone's favorite hairy adamantium-covered Canuck. We're revisiting Logan's origins again, but it's a little more of a deep character-building story than a major secret or earth-shattering revelation being revealed to us. This story directly picks up after the events of the original origin story by Kubert and Paul Jenkins from almost 10-plus years ago. We find Logan in the wild exploring and embracing his animal side, both figuratively and literally. He's living with a pack of wolves and becoming part of that family. Adam Kubert's arc is still as strong as it's ever been, while Kieran Gillen's script is very intricate and deep in showing the reader the man behind the Wolverine, who at this point is very broken, aimless, and barely a human character. You get to see some familiar faces on this story who later go on to become major players in Logan and the X-Men's history. I think this book is definitely worth a pickup because it's a very interesting take on Wolverine I've never really seen before or read about. There's more of a character-driven story than all-out claw-shredding robots to pieces and being blown to hell and back up and just shaking it off like nothing happened. I'm interested to see how the story ends because chronologically it could fall in line with any other part of Logan's life, or it could quite possibly fall into uncharted territory, which at this point with this character is almost impossible.
So now I'm going to look at something different. This is a web comic. Well, not really a web comic. It's Edison Rex from Monkey Brain Comics, and it's only available as a digital comic, but they've actually, when they get a bunch of issues together, they put out a trade. So there's been, I think, the equivalent of 3 trades worth of material. I think that 3rd trade is about to come out. It's a, I don't know, this is the closest I've seen to an all-age comic without trying to be an all-age comic in a very, very long time. Basically, the premise is this. There's this villain called Edison Rex, who's the smartest man in the world. And his nemesis is Valiant. Okay, so Valiant is kind of like the whole Superman thing. Alien from another planet, blah, blah, blah. However, Edison Rex defeats Valiant in a very clever way, actually, by convincing him that he is his own worst enemy, convinces him to step in this box that would then atomize him, and then save the world from Valiant's impending, crazed, rampages, whether or not it was going to happen, but he actually talks him into it. And it works, okay? There's that point in the story where you almost even see Edison Rex thinking, okay, at any point now, something's going to happen. Somebody's going to burst through the ceiling and this is going to stop. It doesn't happen. It works. He beats the good guy, okay? He wins. He then stops back and sits for a minute, and it's like, okay, what's next? Well, getting to beat the good guy is the fun part. Ruling the world is not really all that it's cracked up to be. So he decides, you know what? I'm going to try to fix the world. So he rebrands himself as a good guy. He's got all this crazy tech. He then goes to Valiant's, Lair of Solitude or whatever it was called, and takes all of his tech and decides that he can make a foundation and save the world, make the world a better place. Sounds kind of crazy, but it works. And the first couple issues, everybody still thinks he's a villain, obviously. And so he works to try to change that. Some further issues go on. The world starts to accept him. He starts gaining more allies. There's a small group of heroes that don't believe him and are working kind of like subtly to figure out what his true aim is because they don't believe that he's really, turned. The rest of the world, meanwhile, knows nothing will happen to Valiant except that he's gone. And that's why Edison says, I stepped into his shoes realizing that I needed to save the world, to protect the world because Valiant wasn't here. Sounds like some pretty heavy stuff, but look at the art, and it feels very much like an older comic. They're evoking a lot of Silver Age themes here, and you'll see a lot of DC comics, a lot of Marvel comics, a lot of things that seem very, very familiar, and so it actually makes it a lot of fun to read, but everything is different, okay? There's a lot of familiar characters. There's the Batman-style character, the Superman-style character, the Justice League, the Teen Titans. There's like all these different analogs to all these different teams and groups. Larva instead of AIM. I mean, there's, the initial things. I mean, all this crazy stuff. But it doesn't feel like a retread of anything. It actually feels really fresh and very fun. And at the end of every issue, there's like a Marvel-style bio page of whatever characters have been in the book so that you get more of a history. I mean, these guys have a very deep, complete world created for this book. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And by these guys, I mean Chris Robertson and Dennis Culver. This is a very, very fun book. It's something that I'd recommend without reservation. The stories tend to be quiet little, background pieces to big, giant, save the world kind of things. There's everything in this book. It's a lot of fun. And like I've said in a couple reviews in the past, I think that's what's missing in a lot of comics. And so that's why I'm enjoying this so much. And I think everybody needs to take a look at this because 99 cents an issue online, it's worth checking out. And I was hooked from the start.
And now for what I honestly feel is Marvel's answer to DC's Teen Titans, Marcus Toe and Christopher Yost have reassembled the New Warriors. Who's that, you say? Oh, come on. You remember that group of idiot kid heroes who caused that horrendous accident in Connecticut that killed a crap ton of kids and innocent bystanders, and while they were filming a reality show about catching bad guys like Cop Style and setting into motion the events that ultimately led up to Marvel Civil War, that ultimately killed Captain America and Black Goliath, and had a clone robot Thor, and it tore the superhuman community apart, and it turned Tony Stark into a major world-class douchebag who made everybody register their secret identities, which basically forced Spider-Man to reveal his identity, which made the Kingpin hire an assassin to try and kill Aunt May. Now, okay, now you remember. Great. Let's move on. This is an interesting book because it's setting up these kids who aren't even a team yet, and it looks like they're already in deep crap. We find Justice, who, believe it or not, is a former Avenger, and he's trying to find his place right now in a world that's full of Avenger teams, X-teams, X-Force teams, you name it, there's a team for everybody right now. What I like about this book a lot is just the clean artwork. It's got a good fun pace to it. and the script is just good. Everybody plays off each other very well. You get a sense of, you kind of feel like a teenager reading this book because it's very teeny, got the whole boppy feel to it, but it's just very loose and fun. You don't have to know too much about the team. You just basically have to know who they are, where they've been, who's been a member, if you want to go that far back, and where they are right now. You got Speedball in there. There's no Firestar. She's not around. Just as, like I said before, the new Kid Nova, who's actually pretty cool. I like that character. He's almost like a New Age Spider-Man, but with, some pretty cool cosmic powers and a better costume. Yeah, I totally recommend picking up this book. It's a lot of fun, especially if you don't want to be weighed and tied down by all the other big franchises like the Avengers books, the X books, and even all the solo guys. It's a fun book, clean stuff, and it just feels like it's going to last a little long. I'm not sure about this book lasting forever, but for the time being, it works for me. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
So I want to preface this review with a potential bias. At the New York Comic Con, Lewis and I got a chance to actually see the first issue and get a personally narrated version of the comic, which anybody who gets a chance to see Brian Glass should go talk to him, have him start talking about his comics. I mean, they should put that in an app. I mean, he's just amazing. Having said that, this is a review of Furious issues 1 and 2 by Brian Glass with art by Victor Santos. Yes, this is the same team that does Mice Templar, except Victor's art looks nothing like Mice Templar. In fact, I wasn't quite sure it was the same artist, until I actually saw it. He's doing amazing things on the art, and you'll see some of the examples here. It's just amazing what he's doing with motion, with color, and because he's doing the color as well, it's great. As far as what this comic is, it's kind of the same old, somebody gets a new superpower in a world without superheroes and has to figure out how to be a hero, how to hide her identity, blah, 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 blah. Seen it before a million times, except this isn't quite like most of those things. Imagine a very famous actress who finds out she has a superpower and decides, you know what, I'm going to make up for all the bad that I've done in my life, try to atone for my sins, and, be a superhero. Except it doesn't work. I mean, her very first time going out as a superhero, she ends up beating to a pulp and almost killing these kidnappers. She's then identified as Furious when she wanted her name to be the Beacon, Beacon of Hope. And instead it's, she was really furiously almost killing those people. So the first issue is mainly about Cadence Lark, or so we think. Be careful to pay attention to the coloring of the word bubbles and the thought bubbles, because when you get to the end of the issue, you almost have to go back and reread it again, because some of the people you thought were different characters are the same characters. And then there's one character you think is the same character who's a different character, but you're not really sure about that till the second issue. It sounds confusing, but when you read it, it makes perfect sense. The first issue is basically about Furious trying to figure out how to be a hero. Okay, all the rookie mistakes happen. It's great. The second issue is us learning more about her past and where she came from. There's definitely a tinge of Lindsay Lohan, child star, makes some bad decisions, has a poor family life, and gets out of control, tries to redeem herself in the press, can't do it, gets these powers and decides to redeem herself that way. So in the course of all that action, there's a few themes at play. The cost of power, one's responsibility having that power, trying to atone for one's sins. Should somebody do that? What's our role in the media's role in destroying somebody? Can that person be redeemed? It's definitely something that is just building right now. The first issue is definitely about, Furious and her start. The second issue getting a little bit of history and starting to investigate where maybe her powers are coming from. And towards the end, there's kind of a flip on the old cliche that for every action, there's a reaction. And we definitely see a potential villain, even though sometimes Cadence Lark, Furious, thinks that she's her own villain when, the identities are swapped out. So this is definitely a book to take a look for. The art's amazing. The writing is great. This is a story that on the surface sounds like something you've seen before. It's not. It's definitely a new take, and I would imagine it's something that could be translated into other mediums, if that makes sense. And I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Definitely check this out.
I think that smaller guys are always going to be small. There's no possibility for growth. I think that the way that it's all set up basically is that it's a big machine. And like all those pre-established characters for the last 75 years, they're the moneymaker. And that's all they're going to care about, and that's all they're going to put money into. You know, great, but that's not my goal. My goal is to tell stories that I care about and I want to see. And it's unfortunate that even the quote-unquote independent companies like Image and Dark Horse, even then, that's really tough for them to reach out and say, I want to take you on because I believe, looking at your work, you're solid, and I think we could develop this. The best route and best piece of advice I can give somebody that's independent, from all my hardships of 15 years, you know, do it because you love to do it. Don't care if you're going to make money at it, because if you care about making money at it, you're just going to wind up being like me and quitting. So do it on the web, get an audience because you want people to see your work and to read your story, and that's all you should really think about. And if you get fortunate enough to get tapped for a bigger company, great, but don't make that the end goal, you know?
Yeah. I think people want to read independent comic books, but seeing that they have to make a choice like, oh, I don't know what this thing is about, they don't do it. So they wait till it gets popular. You know, like you get outliers like The Walking Dead, but for these type of books, we need audiences, you know, and we need people to take that chance. And when I started...
And just for 99 cents a day...
You can zoom up and I'm like...
Yeah, you could play that Sarah McLachlan song, and then if you can After Effects a fly on my face,
yeah,
that would be awesome.
Just put a rubble heap behind me.
See, this is what people are missing out on independent comics, because we have way more personality than anybody is going to have it drawing Batman for the 150 billionth time.
You know, we're not beholden to a company, so we don't have to sit there and say, well, you know, it's a great book, and we can say where we failed at it, where we succeeded at it, you know, why we think that it's a good comic for everybody. But, you know, we encourage people to make that difficult decision on trying something new, you know. It does not work out every single time. You know, you will get bad books, but you will also see creators from the beginning, you know, and hopefully, you know, journey with them, you know, to probably bigger gigs or something like that. And I think that's really, really helpful if people just, you know, sat down, read other books, and just, you know, take that risk. You know, that's very important.
If it's not ours, that's fine. Anybody, just take a chance. It's worth the few bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, what's $5 here? I mean, if you're going to spend $400 on somebody's sketch that you're going to stick in a book and never look at again, you might as well spend $5 on a book that you already once and never look at again. Sir, hold on a minute here. Sir, I'm going to use you as a guinea pig here for a moment. Are you willing to take a risk on this independent book for $5 measly?
Yeah, no way in hell. No. No.
All right, let me redirect you over to Greg Capullo. You can get a $400 sketch that you're never going to look at in your sketchbook. It's money well spent. It's an investment.
But he draws eyes so well.
He does. They're smoky and beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
I really believe it. I know I draw like shit, and you've never heard of us or this book. But, sir, what's $5? For $5, this young man over here will be able to eat a cheeseburger.
And I really want a cheeseburger.
This guy desperately needs a cheeseburger. Do you have $5?
I do, actually.
Can we guilt you out of 20?
I like the way you think.
All right, that's $20. That's 4 books.
No, let's, let me buy a damn book, so.
Yeah! Now all you fine people, come here.
Okay, so that's another episode of Variant Edition. We've got lots more footage from the New York Comic Con coming up, including some cool segments on some stuff that you don't see getting much coverage in the US. I'm really excited to get this put together. It's just, you know, I'm taking my time so that we can get it right.
And again, we want to thank everyone that we got to talk to at the con. We're looking forward to this summer and making our rounds at any con we can make it to.
If you're a creator, contact us. We're always glad to talk about new projects, review new books, have you on the shows for interviews. You know, it doesn't matter where in the world you are because we've got the magic of the internet and video calling, and we can make it happen.
Once again, we'd like to thank a Little Shop of Comics in Scotch Plains, New Jersey for their help in getting us relaunched.
We really can't wait to start shooting there. It's a really cool shop, and it'll look. I mean, this is nice, but it'll be nice to have some variety.
Beautiful story, yeah. Nice environment.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you can find us at VariantEdition.com, YouTube, LibTV, and iTunes. Please be sure to share this episode on Facebook and or Twitter.
And we're looking to expand, so if you're interested or know someone that's interested, please contact us and let us know. We're going to get more specific with our plans, but don't let that stop you. Get in touch now.
All right, that's it for today. We'll see you guys in about 2 weeks. Cool.
All right.
Cut!